So I'd like to welcome Scott H. to the Battle Babes interviews. How are you doing tonight, Scott?
It's been a long day after work. Happy to finally be here. Did some dinner prep, and it's 8:42 Mountain Time. So I'll have a busy day tomorrow, but looking forward to the weekend. How are you, Heather?
I'm doing okay. Fighting a little bit of a cold, but definitely feel better than last night, considering at this time last night I'd been sound asleep for an hour.
Oh God.
Yeah. It was, very, it sucked, but that's okay.
Sleepless nights, smoke. Now the smoke has gone away. I'm happy for the fresh air. Ample time for priming, hopefully this weekend, because there's more models to paint, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Laura's actually the other Battle Babe. She's actually out on our back deck priming, not Battletech minis, but minis for a board game called Mice and Mystics.
Oh, that's a cool game.
It is.
My wife has a copy. We have played a couple times. I think I was playing the Paladin. I think it was the one with the sword and board. That's kind of what I gravitate towards in a lot of different games. Neverwinter Nights, Baldur's Gate, that sort of thing. D&D.
Oh, you'd have to have a conversation with Lee and Laura about Baldur's Gate, because they are playing that with a couple of our other friends. Actually, one of our BT friends, not from League, but he'd be in League if he was here, and they are always, "Okay, when are we playing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not playing Baldur's Gate. Nope." Not because I just don't know anything about it, and my computer's like, I don't know, 7 years old, and so I don't know if it would even run it.
Check tech specs first. You might be surprised. I know that it burns through some PCs. I know that mine's due for a rebuild. But my brother was working with Armored Core, so more stompy robots. It's a brand new game. His rig is almost 9 years old, works it on there, but he also future-proofed his, so there's that.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, Lee just got a brand new computer, and he's very happy he can run all his games on there. So, well, yeah, he's like, "Do you need a new computer?" And I'm like, we'll see, maybe, because this one, it's not like it's getting bad, but the memory's running out, and we'll see. But yeah, let's get back to our interview. And
Sure.
So what brought you to League? Like, how did you hear about us?
It was actually through Bruce Ford. Because my brother and I, James, he actually might be joining League at some point in the near future. We run several Battletech games through Imaginary Wars. It's another smaller hobby shop down in the southwest of Calgary. We actually had the good luck of Bruce coming into the shop. He introduced himself. I was what's the word I'm looking for? Flabbergasted, astounded, surprised, all of the above when he came in, and he was just like, "Yeah, I do a lot of CAD list work." I was like, "Wait, what? Really?" "Yeah, and we have this thing over at Ogre's Den, and it's called, the Calgary Battletech League, and we do this." And I wanted to make a connection with Lee because I got to know Bruce a little bit, and then it was the recent Catalyst Mercenaries Kickstarter that brought me there again to Ogre's Den for actually the first time, and started working on the tabletops with the Alpha Strike game. I got myself involved in that, actually took first place in that, which was very surprising.
Oh, cool. You're the one who took first place. I heard all about it. I don't know anything about Alpha Strike, but I did hear about it. That's cool. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how it worked. My dice were on fire for the first set of games. I was playing another Catalyst demo agent at Craig. Well, he was there, and I had a great time with him. Had a great time with Jeff Painter. He was on one of the tables along with my brother, and then I also got introduced very, very briefly to JP at the table as well. So it's just community. I guess that's what spells me for League and why I wanted to come and attend season 3.
And that's awesome. That's exactly what we like to hear. I know, like for Laura and I, we're the only chicks. I'm not complaining because it's kind of nice, but we do get some odd looks because we are the only two girls at the tables. But definitely our league, the members and the community is awesome. I was one thing the guys really wanted to strive for. The league that we were in before that Bruce actually ran was the same kind of thing. We all we would go out for dinner afterwards sometimes or things like that. And Laura and I are really trying to bring in that community and the socialization with things like the hopefully Thanksgiving potluck and the Christmas potluck that we did and stuff last year. And to me, that's how you build those communities, and that's how you get those other people to come in.
Yeah.
By having all these different events.
Yeah, and I think it's just the similar interests. Gender notwithstanding, it's just, do you like Battletech? Yeah, I like Battletech. Okay, let's play a game of Battletech, and that's how it generally pops up. Or it's D&D or a video game or something like that. It's odd because of the way that certain people think, but when people think alike, this is what brings people together.
Well, exactly. Like you look at our ragtag group of us at Battletech League. Like you look at us and you're like, how do those guys like get together? And it literally is. We all have some kind of Battletech in common, but I think a lot of us do really enjoy those tabletop games, whether it be Mice and Mystics or Battletech or even just basic tabletop games, other board games that kind of just has those like-minded people hanging out for sure.
Cards, dice, simplest thing that you can possibly get. It brings people to the table, you start chatting, and you go from there.
Well, and they're so versatile. Like for me as a teacher, I use it to teach math, and it's some of the ways kids that hated math, they'd be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. And so it's so versatile, and I just love that it can bring so many people from so many different backgrounds together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that it's helping with teaching for sure, because I wish that I had stuff like that when I was in junior high school and stuff.
Right, you wouldn't have thought about that. It's definitely a new world. Compared to when all of us were in school. I hate to say that, but yeah, a very, very long time. But talking about League and gaming, what is your experience, or how long have you been playing Battletech, and kind of what's your story with that?
Early 90s. Take it back to the cartoon eras and bad TV shows. Battletech, the cartoon, now propaganda as per Catalyst and FASA and everything else. That was my big introduction. Jade Falcons invading Somerset, Adam Steiner and his shenaniganry, and oh god. Adam Steiner, terrible leader, lost a planet, gained a planet, lost its people by being an idiot. And I'll rest my case. I'm glad it's propaganda, and I'm glad it brought me to the table. But it wasn't that started me in the tabletop scene. It was through reading the books, playing the computer games, starting with MechWarrior 2, Mech Commander, MechWarrior 3, 4, 5, Mech Commander 2, Mech Assault, and the terribleness that came with that game. Other people can fight me about that, and that's okay. But it's the story. I get attached to stories, and for me to hear that a lot of people gravitated towards something like Game of Thrones, I appreciate Game of Thrones as an IP. But when I tell them that there's a company that did it in space before that, they're like, what? And a conversation started.
Well, that's funny. Laura and I are reading, I am finally, after 15 years of being with Lee, and finally starting to read the books, and we started reading not the Black Dagger Brotherhood. That's a totally different series, not related to this.
Black Dragon?
No, Black Dagger Brotherhood. It's vampire smut.
Oh, okay. Yeah, completely different.
Just a little bit. But no, the Create Death Legion. And I was all this time, I'm like, no, there's no way. I don't need to read these. I don't need the backstory. And now that we've started reading it, I'm really enjoying it. But the funny thing is, you were talking about Game of Thrones, and we just did an episode about a month and a half ago-ish about the Inner Sphere and trying to explain it, because when I talk to people that I know that don't know anything about Battletech, trying to explain it, I brought up Game of Thrones and compared it to like the Starks and all of that kind of stuff. And Lee's like, no, we can't. It's going to confuse people. But it's kind of cool that you're like, oh, well, it's kind of like Game of Thrones, but in space, however many years before. And I'm like, nice. Gotta love that connection.
Well, it's a great connection. And I know that there's other people who also saw the same thing, because getting into Battletech, you meet some friends, and of course those friends become longtime gamers, and it's the same thing. They're just like, this is Game of Thrones but in space. And I mean, my first introduction in the book series was the Warrior Trilogy and the Jade Phoenix Trilogy.
Okay.
Both very strong, because the Warrior Trilogy takes place before the clan invasion. Hans Davian, he's doing his thing. He has his intelligence officers. One of them happens to get ousted from his unit. Goes off to Solaris, the game world. Oh god, this is a tremendously massive story now. Clans, the Jade Phoenix. It's the story about Iden Pride and what he did to go from being a misfit to being one of the myths of the Jade Falcons in the current era. He was a very pivotal figure in Tukiad, the big battle between the clans, Comstar, and trying to settle the Inner Sphere. So there's a lot to unpack there, and I know that people that listen to this are probably going to go, "What's that?" But Jade Phoenix trilogy, Warrior trilogy, both very good. And now I'm reading the Proliferation Cycle, and got a bunch of books from the recent Gamescom. The Catalyst was in Calgary for.
Yep. Mhm.
Had a couple signed by Randall Bills,
Nice.
which was really cool.
Oh, shit, I didn't even think about doing that, and we're all getting into the books. That would have been cool.
He's a great guy. He signed every single one that he had wrote in, and the joke between him and Talon, I think was his name, was, "So you're not going to sign anything for Michael Stackpole or Blaine?" And it's like, well, no, I didn't write those, and they'll be very mad at me if I do. So
Yeah, that's a little bit faux pas right there.
yeah, they were really good about it.
That's awesome. It's I'd love to, if you pop on to some of our podcasts about the Grey Death Legion and let us know what you think. I know we have a podcast. We kind of got stomped or stuck halfway through, so we're getting back at it, but I'm really enjoying it. At first, before we started, I was like, there's no way these books can be that good, and I'm like, oh my god, I keep saying to Laura, we need to read. So we're getting back to that this next week, and we're going to continue, and it's pretty
Great
cool how
reads.
this Battletech, how wide it is, right? Like, it's not just a game.
No, it's a franchise. It's a massive spanning story. I love it.
Yeah, me too. So talking about League and just kind of your history, you explained how you got to us, which I think is a really cool connection in this story. So, like, when you're thinking about League, what are you thinking so far? Like, what are some of the things you like, even the things that you may not like? We're always up to, I know the guys are always up to hearing about things that we can improve on. So, what do you think of that so far?
I think that it's a really, really cool idea. There's always polish needed for these. It's season 3, so obviously there's been a whole bunch of different revisions, chatting about rules and deciding how they work. I think that taking a slice of this and being very new to this, a lot of the stuff that transitions from the core rulebooks has been brought into the packet that everyone's poured over, and I think that it's a really solid product that you have brought this community into. I was very surprised to see clans as part of it. I know that they're really strong with their technology. I'm glad that they had a minor handicap with their battle value limits, but even Comstar and Draconis Combine, I see C3 networks with no real penalties except for the skill points. I was like, that's an auto take. Okay, let's do this.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on C3 systems. I freaking hate that system. I've never played it myself, but playing against it, when you have no experience with it, man, and you don't have ECM, it sucks.
Well, even more with the Beagle Actives. Like, I played my last game against, I believe it was Chris, I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name. He was running around with, I'm just actually going to check my notes here.
You were probably playing Chris Crooks, because last game...
Yeah, exactly.
Chris Morsfelder.
Yeah. So the Beagle Active probes, the rules as written inside the Total Warfare, it's almost next to useless in League. It's really interesting because he was about to march his Marauder into my line to shut my C3s off. I walked my Grasshopper up to it, shut his ECM off with a Beagle Active. He was like, "What'd you just do?" So the way that things have been blended and modified, I think, are really strong. There's a couple rules, of course, like favored weapon, where you get your benefits to, but it has to be 5 tons. And I saw that rambling around in the chat, and they're just like, we don't know if this applies to ER large lasers, and I understand why. But that's just revisions. It's just people looking at it, and it's a whole bunch of care. I know that a lot of care has went into this, and I know that with talking with a lot of other people here, it's like, yeah, this is a really good setting. So keep it up. It's what I love to see. I'm really enjoying League right now.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Like, I know the guys like to hear when we have new players come in, and there's always growing pains. Even when you've had something around for years and decades, something new comes up, or you realize something where there's a rule broken or whatever, and being able to make those changes, but having a community that is willing to help along the way. Like the guys open it up to the community and say, hey guys, check this out, do an errata for us, see if there's anything that's like completely wrong, because they try and keep it to a certain era. And I don't have the backstory for all of like the different eras and stuff, or like even clan, but it's so far the clans seem to be doing okay. Like they're not absolutely overpowered, and the rest of us will have a chance to catch up, and we really won't know how well or how not well. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. The clans being in League will work till the end of the season.
Yeah, and then we'll see what Season 4 brings in case it keeps on coming along.
Well, yeah, and they might decide, hey, we're gonna go back in time. I don't know. It's Brett and Lee. They have interesting views. And it's kind of funny because sometimes they're absolutely polar opposite. But that's where where Jeff comes in, having a third person in there. But that's absolutely okay. It's, what do you do, right?
Nothing. You go along with it, and sometimes the best ideas are brewed from people disagreeing. So.
Well, exactly. You can't you don't want to be screaming and yelling at each other, but a little bit of disagreement can sometimes come up with some of the best ideas. So just thinking, we kind of already talked about this a little bit, and just to finish off our talk tonight, talking about tabletop gaming or even gaming in general, what is one of your favorite games to play, other than Battletech, whether it's a dice game, a card game, a straight up tabletop game, anything like that?
Top 3, I'd say, are Dungeons and Dragons, multiple iterations. My brother had a year-long campaign. It was crazy. We had a whole bunch of fun with that, and we're still learning 5th edition and trying to get things dealt with that.
Yes.
It spun off into a whole bunch of different narrative campaign settings with different rule sets. So like Cyberpunk. I know that MechWarrior Destiny is also available from Catalyst. I want to do that. That's going to be in my inbox next year because I backed the Mercenaries Kickstarter with a gratuitous amount of money. Don't need to discuss how much that was. But Settlers of Catan, it's one of the loves of my wife. She loves that game. She plays it to death, and it's 5 to 6 players bringing it together for the friends and family. No one walks away unhappy because we try to make it as reasonable as possible.
You've never played with me. I hate that game with a passion. A passion, if you ask Lee. Oh, God. We played it twice, and I'm like, nope. You cannot pay me enough money to play that game.
Okay, that's Axis and Allies for me. I don't like that game. Go. I can't play it. I can't. But yeah, it's a lot of tabletop stuff. Even the more odd ones like Madeira and Kingdom Death Monster, it's miniature focused, story rich, but a lot of bad things can happen in those settings where characters' lives are cheap. Be prepared to have a backup in case you die. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think with any kind of the character or RPG games, you always have to be prepared to die or to have bad things happen. Like you'll have to ask Lee this story about me burning up my bow of speed.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's my least favorite story of our D&D experiences. Not that we have many, but yeah, you always have good and bad things happen with those. So they're always great stories to tell, and that's like we were talking about Mice and Mystics earlier. That's literally why we got it, was to introduce our girls to Mice and Mystics, because we played it with our buddy Jason, who moved to BC, and we're like, oh, this is perfect because Cam and her friends, they're all, I hate to say it, a bunch of little nerds, which I love. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna play this and we'll introduce it to you easy, and then we'll go the hard way and go D&D.
If you want some similar in book format for them, try the Redwall series if you haven't already.
Redwall series. Well, I'm writing that down because our daughter, our 10-year-old, loves to read. Sad to say tonight she was mad, so she went to bed and read and went to sleep. So hey,
it's designed for young adults, but it's the focus. The main characters are all little critters, but in a medieval-esque setting. It's really well thought out.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, even though, and this should be out before our next game, I'm not sure who you're playing, but do you have any messages to pass on to your next opponent, or?
Looking forward to it. C3 might win me the game. It might not. I'll just look forward to a fantastic game. That's
awesome. Well, thanks, Scott, for coming on tonight, wading through all that technology issues. And looking forward to seeing more of you throughout the season, and we'll talk to you later.
Absolutely. See ya.
See ya.